Welcome to the Concert Queen Connect. So excited to be in studio with the one and only guy who has better hair than me, first off. But Daniel Sahad from Nańe. Say hello.
Hey guys, how y'all doing? Happy to be here.
You got your hair.
Oh, it's
hair looks
flowing.
Great today.
Yeah, I know. I had to get ready for this.
I appreciate it. Yeah. Styling and profiling always.
Trying.
So we survived the snowpocalypse.
We did it. We did that
I'm
mess.
happy.
The quarantine within a quarantine.
Yeah, and you've got like so many things. We have so many things to talk about today because not only are you involved in music, but just the trajectory, I feel like, of how fast everything has happened for you. So I don't know if people, when they see you perform, and if you haven't seen Nańe perform, I had the pleasure of seeing you when you opened for the Black Pumas. The Black Puma, which is a huge band. So I'm automatically thinking like, oh, you know, Nańe is a big deal, and you guys are. But obviously in that context, I was like, wow, like how am I not familiar with them? And we did a giveaway together. We did a ticket giveaway. And we actually have a very interesting friendship as well, and how we met.
Yeah, we do.
Might as well just jump right into that.
Yeah, let's dive into that. Day one, how we met.
Well,
I get a text from you.
Well, okay, let's back up. So I saw you guys, you're like, hey, reached out to me. We're like, let's do a ticket giveaway. But you and I had never actually personally met. No. At that time. Never met. And then, we've kind of been keeping this a secret. So I'm just going to spill the beans, tell everyone now. But we've literally had like a complete reverse way of getting to know each other very, very intimately.
Yeah, super intimately.
Steve was there for that. He was a witness. Could have signed documents.
Oh yeah.
So I'll just get into it. So we actually, like I said, maybe we met like one other time in passing, just like at a show or something. But then,
but we'd never hung out before.
Never hung out. This is probably going to be the longest I think we've hung out. Like hung out. And I was doing some promotion for ACL Live, and I was looking for. It was for their like week of weddings. So I had this whole like vision of being dressed up in this crazy bridal outfit and like country. I don't know if some of y'all have seen that, but I was like, oh, you know, maybe I can have like a guy. And my first thought went to, you know, me and Adam's Frontman. Yeah. Cause I was like, oh, crazy rocker.
Yeah. The rhinestones, it lined up with your vision too. You know, Adam is just such a powerful like character.
Adam's a force, you know, like he's a force. So in that context, I was like, oh, he'd be fun. He's like, oh, I texted him and he's like, and Adam's for me and Adam, shout out me and Adam. Love you. So I reached out to him and he was like, I'm actually doing another shoot today. He's so popular. And he's like, but why don't you ask Daniel? I was like, Daniel who? He's like, Daniel Sahad. I was like, I don't know. I'm not sure if I know him. He's like, from Nańe. I was like, oh, I've actually like, yeah, I know who he is, but if he's available, I mean, cool. Like, yeah, I think that'll work. Cause in my head, it was just in my vision, it was only like just a placeholder. So even then, like you're much bigger than. You don't see my
face.
You're not necessarily.
The shadow of me
originally,
is around.
that was the original plan.
Right.
Was just to be this vision. Well, it turned out a lot more than.
Oh yeah, it was.
That. So Daniel, bless his heart, in saving the day, agrees to do this. So
this was the same day too, right? Like this.
I think it was like the day before. Yeah, the day before. I go and rent. You know, I have my outfit. I go and rent you like this beaded. And we'll show you all pictures of that. Like this beaded crazy thing. And we show up to ACL.
Shining too. It was great.
Looking good. Hair is even more on point.
Oh, even more.
So he shows up and we're dressed. All of a sudden, I don't know, and I'm curious when your sobering moment was. My sobering moment, like I'm getting dressed in the ACL, and there's nobody there at ACL Live. It's just us.
Pitch black too. The whole everything.
Intimate, candles lit, and it's like an actual wedding venue. Yeah. Like they've set it up, they've staged it, and we've got Steve there, you were taking video, and then I had Cindy there. Shout out Cindy, love you. She was taking photos. So it was just the four of us and like the ACL Live crew, and then Daniel and me.
Yeah.
Dressed.
The sobering moment for me, at least, was So there came a point in time in the entire thing where it's just her and I holding hands.
So we're doing like a full on like photo shoot. Like we're doing the whole, like I actually started to have like a panic attack in the dressing room because I was like, is this what it feels like to get married?
I thought we got married.
So there was a shoot. Again, he's dressed as this groom, very handsome man. And then I'm dressed as a bride. And then I'm like holding this bouquet and I'm walking down the aisle. To a guy that I've known for like 15 minutes at this 20 minutes. And we've been in quarantine too. Like were you pretty strict on quarantine?
Oh, you're extremely strict on quarantine. So I just left my house to go get married. and in the photos, I mean, it's staged too. So, I mean, I'm looking down, visions of this beautiful person walking down the aisle. And you also need to, you're being videotaped, so like I need to make it look convincing too, and the lines were just so confusing. So,
I know. I have to show. I don't even think I've shown you. I've shown you like pieces of the photos.
Oh yeah, you said you only sent me selects. You're like, we're not.
I'll show you. I will show you. I will. You came here. You showed up. You get to see all the photos. But I saw the photos, and they were so intimate. So we had, we're having this moment, and we're like. They're like, all right, you like hold hands. And we're doing that thing. And they're like, look into each other's eyes. So we're staring into each other's eyes. Like the feeling was it was super intense.
Oh yeah. We had to look into each other's eyes.
Started tearing up.
Yeah.
Like it got really intense. So we're like, whoa, okay. We need to like take a minute to like look away. But and then not just to add more fuel to the fire, we did another shoot. So we left ACL Live to go to the honeymoon suite.
Oh yeah,
this is some never before seen content.
So our relationship is just developing so quickly.
Yes, we are taking photos in the honeymoon suite, dressed as bride and groom. Got champagne. We're toasting. Yeah,
it's the best wedding I've had so far. I'll tell you that. It really was.
You always remember your first.
You always remember your first wedding. But yeah, that was the first time we hung out. That stays with you.
First time.
Yeah.
It was so intense. And I remember being like, it was so heavy. And then you're like, all right, I gotta go.
Yeah, I felt like my parents were there. I was just lost in it. So confusing.
We got lost in that wedding ACL Live sauce. Yeah. And I just remember like looking back on the photos and because everything's, but it was just it was so fun to do that with you. I would not have picked anyone else to have that shoot, that moment, but it was just like, wow, that was what just happened there. And then looking at the photos, which you haven't seen, they're really cute.
Yeah, I bet you they are. We got dressed up. We looked good.
We looked good. And so that was... Yeah. It was super intense. So we kind of had like a backwards.
Yeah. So we can talk about anything at this point because we've already gotten married and looked into each other's eyes for an extended period of time. So there's no topic now we can't broach.
No. So here we are. So that was that. But that was where, and I got to know you. And then we went and had drinks.
Yeah, we did.
Because when you share such an intimate moment, as you do,
you gotta go.
You're like, you gotta at least, do I go, do you want to get a drink or something?
Exactly,
what do we do here? So, but yeah, I really got to know you as a person and absolutely adore you. I think you're amazing. You well. And so there's so many cool things that I learned about you that I would have never known just from standing in front of you getting married to you.
Yeah. I've heard that before. You hear that. That's a classic.
That was a shotgun wedding. So if anyone wants to get married at ACL Live, it's a very intimate space. I highly recommend it.
Yeah, you can really get lost in there.
But we did. So it was great. But yeah, that was one of the things. So having that time with you, I got to get to know you. Like I said, when we met up afterwards and we're like, let's just talk. And then hearing about all of your background and you have such an extensive background that has been the culmination of turning you into what you are today and being with Nańe. And he's got a short film coming out and all this amazing stuff that for someone I thought again was so you are super well versed, but someone who is still relatively new, right?
Self-proclaimed. We hit the ground running hard.
Yeah.
A lot of that.
So
was
tell
just
us
that
about kind of like that start of you guys, because relatively, like I said, from the time when I saw you open up for the Black Pumas, but even before that, you guys were only a band for what?
Oh, by then, a few months.
A few months.
Yeah. So
that's
that
crazy.
was like our fourth show. So I was
fourth.
Yeah, I was
fourth.
That show was tough. That show
You killed it.
Because thank you. But that one in particular was interesting. So I have this like recurring back injury. So like I was actually in a wheelchair that whole week, and I got up to play that show, and then afterwards I went back into a wheelchair. But I didn't want anybody to know at the time. Now I can talk about it. But at that time, because I didn't want anyone to feel anything about me, because it was such a huge opportunity, and I didn't want it to be about anything else. And so. But about how did I get there?
Wow. Okay. Well, that's a load.
just
was in a wheelchair for a week and then jumped on stage and then jumped back off.
And then left.
Wow.
But about how we kind of hit the ground running, I think a lot of it is just, so I'm like a neurotic person and like to be extremely prepared, right? And I have to give you some context to explain that well. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I went to UT and stuff. Went there for marketing and advertising and stuff. And I knew when I left, like I was walking the floor, the stage or whatever when you're graduating, and I get a call from a studio that says, "Hey, you know, we want to hire you as an intern, whatever, come around." And I was like, "Oh my God!" Because you were in
film school, correct?
No, I was at UT for advertising and marketing.
Advertising and marketing, okay.
But I knew I wanted to do music, so I had applied to do some stuff in music. By the way, did not play very much music by this point. I just knew this was the direction I was supposed to go. And so I started working at the studio for a few months called Bubble Recording Studios. Frenchie, who's amazing. And that was where I started learning, like, this is the kind of music I want to do. This is the kind of stuff I don't want to do. And there came a point in time where, you know, I left that to go pursue something which is what we talked about with Greg Raleigh from Journey and Santana. We did a production company for a while, and that's how I got to do the whole Jonathan Terrell Ringo thing we brought up recently.
Wow. And see, it all comes full circle.
Yeah,
so yeah, we have some, by the time this comes out, they'll have seen that. But yeah, the whole, the Austin community, which I'm sure you've seen too, everyone is just so supportive of each other.
Extremely.
And that's what I absolutely love about the Austin community, the Austin artists. Everybody just wants everyone to succeed and seeing how they can help each other. And that's amazing. So I don't feel like, you said if you were in a different market or somewhere else, it just, the learning curve, I'm sure, would have been a lot steeper.
I think that here, if like, I see the city as a great place. If you're like kind, you work really hard, you're just good to people, you can get your start here in the creative industry. I firmly believe that. But yeah, so I went from there and I was like, well, if music does, a lot of my trajectory was me setting up parachutes for myself because I didn't know enough yet, right? So I was like, if music doesn't work right now, I should learn some management and just kind of hone this craft. So I, dove into management, started working with this guy, Pat Cassidy, and he taught me a ton. And then in tandem with that, I started doing film because I was like, I'm going to need videos one day. I better learn this. So I started working with Onion Creek Productions in town, and they took me in and I, started working my way up from PA to learning more and more of the craft of to producer. And then there came a point in time where I was like, well, there's really nothing I can do now besides actually start my band. I think I get it. I think so.
Oh, so well, what? Okay, so what was that? Because it's usually the reverse as well. Yeah. That people will go and try to start the band first.
That sounds like that could have been dope. That sounds great. I should have tried that. But
was that always like singing? Like, we'll talk about the short film, but like your family, was that something that was a big part of you growing up? No,
my parents found out I could sing when I was like 16, and they were like, "What did you just do?" And I was just, I sang and stuff to myself. But no, I did the Battle of the Bands my senior year because this one kid, they would practice at my neighbor's house, and I would hear him sing, and I was like, that guy's he's not that good.
Were you like singing in the shower? Like, where were you?
I just felt like I could sing it better. And one day I went over there and I sang, and I did. And then that's kind of where I knew I wanted to do music. But even in college, I had studied pre-med for years, and I switched into marketing and advertising and stuff my junior year. So no, I did not grow up like with the, this extensive, 16 years of training in music and stuff like that. I just knew that there was just like this force inside of me that always wanted to do music, and I would always push back against it because of what I perceived as what my path would be. And so I sing to myself all the time. I would write little songs. I wrote poetry. I wrote things, but I didn't share them with anybody. They were just mine. Because I wouldn't let myself. I thought I was going to be, a doctor and follow this path that, my parents are immigrants from Dominican Republic. And very much so my example was, you can be a doctor, engineer, or lawyer, much like all my immigrants out there. I'm sure you guys get it. And that's what very much I thought I was going to do. And I kind of put music in a little bubble, but it started shaking the cage a bit more and more every single year. and I prepared to do exactly what we did, right? So we did a weird order. Like you said, it is a backwards order. We had recorded our whole record.
I'm seeing a pattern here, Daniel.
Yeah. Weird order. I do everything backwards.
In the extreme.
And it's a nightmare.
Just kidding.
But no, we'd recorded our entire record by the time we played our first show with John Spees, who produced it.
Wow.
And Adrian Casada engineered it. But we had done almost the entire,
Great
I think we had some
names,
overdubs. Yeah, they're amazing. So much of what we are was because of John's shaping us. But nonetheless, that's such a weird order, because even the more we played it, we were like, oh, we're starting to see little changes in the songs, but here they are. I'm still extremely proud of that. It's just, that's something you normally learn when you're playing songs. You know, you go and chop them a little bit and you play, and they develop differently. But I wouldn't change the way we did it. But all that to say, it was all extremely prepared, and it was extremely thoughtful. And that's why whenever we played our first show, it was shaken. My soul was shaking. I remember before our first show, I was walking up and down the street at Stay Gold because I couldn't be inside yet. And it was sold out. There was like 200 people there. And I just walked up when I got a text from Ian saying it's time. And so I just walked up on stage, blacked out for the first 3 songs, tapped in for the 4th. I think the rest was pretty good. I can't be sure.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's kind of how it went.
So you went from Stay Gold, and sold out first show. And then I feel like you've just been off to the races ever since.
Yeah. It's just finding all of these different ways. How can I maximize anything? I think what's so cool about music is any piece can be 3 or 4 different bullets. And this is what I mean. Like, the way I like to put it is, if Nańe is a house, we want to create as many windows to the house as we can. And that means as many opportunities for people to interact with your band. So if I'm going to release a single, it isn't just, all right, here, our song is out. It's creating the opportunity for, you make an asset, you make a video, and being able to do a tease of that 4 weeks before and 2 weeks before, and a sticker, 5 days before, and then dropping the song itself, and then just continuing to press as many different opportunities, tagging it to this one song, is how you increase longevity. And you make something that people can, instead of having one day that they remember you, it's from 1 to 2 months. And it's sending all of these assets out to, you put your pride away, and you send, when we were starting out, we would send all of video assets to friends and be like, if you want to share it on your Instagram, you can. If not, no worries. But it's just, maximizing that with different people and creating as many opportunities to each individual thing as you can. And I think that's what's kind of helped with our run, is that we seem a little bit like we're just incessant, like we're annoying you with content, but really it's not that much. It's just spread out in a very particular way. And you just create as many different doorways to each one of those opportunities as you can, So I think that's kind of how it grew
so
fast.
This is a lot. What I'm hearing too is, when you're doing it, I'm hearing like marketing, PR, like all that stuff.
Who would have thought that would have came in handy?
Because but that's we've had, Mobley was here, or, we talked to him 2 weeks ago, but that was one of the things. And even with Jonathan Terrell and the different artists, is they want to just be artists, which, as they should, they're creatives. And so they have, they want to focus and work on song production. They don't want to have to worry about, like you said, 4 weeks. Like, you already have those things already ingrained, that a lot, that's just giving you a huge leg up, I feel like, because a lot of the artists don't. Right.
I feel that we have a media schedule. Like, we have videos we haven't released. We have a short film, like my Pride and Joy, which you guys will talk about here in a little bit. Yeah. Pride and Joy is this short film that I created. We
can talk about it now. Let's talk about it.
We can talk about it. But yeah, it's a short film that's going to be called "Don't Let This Love Go to Waste." It's a lyric on our song "Lady Bird," but it's it pays homage to my family and them immigrating here to America. There's a scene with my mom and I speaking in Spanish, and into just how crazy it was, guys. We released this record during COVID, and I was already on a path, and I knew I couldn't stop, and I know I can't fail. I can't, because it isn't that my parents have imposed this guilt. It doesn't feel like that. It feels more like it's my responsibility to just maximize it and bring so much joy and spread so much love, that the message they gave me and they instilled within me with the world. And it just feels like it's my job, and it doesn't feel heavy, but I know I can't fail, and I know that I won't. And so that's why when, I don't get tired of this. I don't get tired of working 16 or 18 hour days, because my motivation is rooted in love and rooted in doing good with the good I can get. And that gas doesn't run out, you know?
Oh yeah. And I can attest to you being up super late because we will be messaging each other and I'm like, what do you go to sleep? It's like 4 o'clock. We're both, I was like, have you gone to sleep or is this you waking up? Is it good morning or good night? And but it's a testament to, because I've been working on this show and working on this, you know, when you care about something and you love something, time isn't, like you said, it's like a non-factor in everything.
Yeah, we do share those messages at 4 a.m. You're like, I'm up editing this thing. It's like, what do you do? And I'm like, oh, I'm up doing the same thing.
Doing the same thing. But I want to say so I watched your short film, and one of the most beautiful moments, as people will see, is obviously you with your mom and that relationship that you have. And that's something that's so special. And maybe, I guess I recognize it because it was something that, like I said, I love my family and they were always super supportive, but everyone shows love in different ways. And so to see what your mom was telling you and where your mom is telling you, like, you are the world, you can do anything you want, I'm so proud of you. Was that something that she constantly, like, did you constantly kind of have that?
Oh, she was always
affirmations when you were growing up?
Yeah. I mean, we had any, problems that normal people have with their parents, but my mom was always extremely supportive. Both my parents were, and super affirming and trying to ground me, and also actively keeping me humble and keeping me grounded, like I said just a second ago. But yeah, they were always super supportive, which I know is a giant blessing. Yeah. That's another thing is, like, when you're given the family and this structure and love and the opportunity of these people who came from a different country, it feels like it's just what I'm supposed to do. It's to share that exact message with the world.
Which is amazing and incredible, like you said, too, my parents aren't immigrants, but it's also just that family dynamic where your parents want, typically, and this is even goes now to families today, is that they try to basically instill the things that they didn't get to do or they didn't get to accomplish, or the way that they know, like, this is all they know, this is success. Like you said, you were in pre-med, you could have been a doctor. You know, that's a proven path of success. But the fact that your parents were still able to be like, okay, you're going this route, we're going to support that and not try to keep steering you in a different direction.
No. Yeah, they came a long way to give me the opportunity to do whatever I wanted. And I chose to sing. So I'm going to sing my ass off.
Yeah. That's amazing. Yeah. But that's, like I said, that's not the norm. I feel like the norm obviously is. I'm so lucky. It's crazy. It's great. My family. Yeah. And so when you have all these people rooting for you, it's awesome to see as well when you're taking that gift and you know you have a gift and you know, like, you have all these factors, which again, I think is why you are so successful and you are committed to succeed. And so you have, like, with your videos, I do want to talk about your OnlyFans. Oh yeah, come on. Let's get into it. So Tamika Jones was here. Tamika Jones was here and we were talking about OnlyFans. And then I remember, because that just kind of boomed during quarantine. So I'm curious from, like, your marketing brain and your performance brain and how OnlyFans. So you released. How that came into the picture. Yeah, let's talk about. And I know I didn't give a lot of context to that on purpose, but I want you to talk about the OnlyFans. Why that happened. Yes. Oh yeah, yeah. So right around the time we have this song called Pink Jag coming out, which is a song about, it's a really sensual song. Very sensual R&B groove song. About how, like, the power of the female form, God as a woman, the power of, like, the sensuality and sex. So that song is being released and I was just trying to come up with, how can I do something differently? How I told you, windows to the house. How do you create this, not just a song, here is my song. So this is around the time OnlyFans is starting to really boom, right? This is around that time that, I forget her woman, that celebrity that made that big scandal that lowered the bar for how much money people could make on OnlyFans. Oh yeah, we talked about her. What was her name again? Bella Thorne. Yeah, it was around that time. So it was, all over social media. But so I had this idea of, like, why not try to capitalize and put a song out through OnlyFans. It already is about sex and sensuality and the power, like I've told you. And so I thought it was super fitting. So we had just this ridiculous photo shoot. And you guys should watch the video of Pink Jag online. But you had to watch the video through your OnlyFans.
Yeah, you could only access it through OnlyFans for a few months.
I was like, wait, I want to. And I'm like, oh,
yeah, you can.
OnlyFans.
Yeah, it was just another weird opportunity to lead, just to show people that we were still just trying to be creative and cooking and just doing something differently. And so, yeah, it was only available on there for a few months. We put it on YouTube now. Like, I think I only made like $20, but whatever. That wasn't the point, you know? The point was to be
stuck out.
Yeah.
It was a very creative, because now OnlyFans is trying to get creators and creatives on there. So I feel like you were
we were the first and probably most unsuccessful song released on OnlyFans. So,
but now it's a whole thing.
Yeah.
Now it's a thing, you know? So I think don't lose hope.
No, I've still got hope. Yeah.
I have faith. I'm sure there's a bunch of people
it'll come back around
out there. It's so funny. But
that was the thinking behind it. Was just how it felt like those two ideas converged really easily, you know?
Yeah.
And the video's hilarious. You know, it's just this like 90s sex hotline concept where, you know, it's like really big glow and rose petals and champagne. And it's just, you might love me more or hate me more by the end of you watching it, but that's what's going on.
You'll love it. You'll love it. So you have all these creative ideas, like when you're putting all these videos together, are you thinking of the concept like as you're writing this, or is it something that kind of comes after? Like what part? Because your videos are so unique, and like we were talking about, the production is just insane.
Thank you.
And obviously with all that, it's like that's kind of like what came first. Like, are you coming up with that before, or are you thinking of like which one?
I'm lucky to say like the team that I have is pretty consistent across most of my videos. There's some people
who's your
that
team?
vary.
Tell us about your team.
But so Rebecca Mendoza, who was my manager here for a long while too, she's who I attribute a great amount of my success to. She's my co, and that's helped me get this to where I am now. But Steve McCord, who shoots almost all of my videos, is my dearest friend, and he's a huge part of it. Cesar Velasco, who's helped direct or assistant direct or produce certain videos, is another huge one for me. And Jeremy Mattern, who's either edited or helped us in so many different ways. So I have a really consistent group of people that help me with almost every video. Yeah. And so, but what normally comes first, and like for my earlier videos, I was just a producer. It's when you get to some of the later ones that I started directing, because I was learning. Remember, I've been doing this for a year before COVID. So this is all still new to me. But with the earlier videos, it's I would have an idea and I would take that to a director. And the first video was on my mind. It was Rebecca. And the idea I had was like, remember middle school dances? Oh yeah. And the tension and the joy and the pain that comes with every second of being at one of those.
Wait, let's talk about your first middle school dance. Do you remember your first middle school dance?
I remember little glimpses, and it's just horrendous.
What were you like as a middle
I was just so sweet. And
really?
Yes. I was the nicer kid that got checked by reality often. Still am. But no, I was like, I was a sweet guy. But middle school dances was the concept for that first video. Yeah. And it was just all the emotions that can go with that. And so, casting kids seemed like a nightmare. So we changed the idea to a high school reunion, and Rebecca took it from there. She was there for that meeting too, but that was kind of how, to answer your question, that was the idea and the emotions that surrounded it that I brought to the table. And I would come to produce the video, and Rebecca's vision filled the rest. Got it. And Steve too. Steve is the DP, the shooter, and he's deeply involved in direction as well. Like he's amazing. Yeah. Wow. Well, I'm still like taking all that in. I'm still thinking about you being a little sweet middle school kid. I had an afro. You would have loved it. Really? Oh, it was hilarious. I had an afro too, but it was because of my curly hair. I was probably the most awkward, insecure middle school kid. Oh yeah, ever. No, I was like those were super awkward, displaced. Like I loved. It still happens plenty of times now. I got a better handle on it. Loved people more than the love I was given. You know what I mean? And I grew up in Amarillo, Texas, right, which is a place to grow up. How long were you there in Amarillo? 16 years. A long time. Oh my gosh. But and the contrast to that was like Santiago, Dominican Republic, which is where all of my family is. So the two pictures of those are so extremely different and polar as hell that finding your place in then understanding, my life and my ethos and my morals are rooted in this. and then I'm living in this, and then feeling, of course, so insecure because how do these line up? They don't. And so it took me a long while to own and become, own who I am. It still is and will always be a process. I'm Socratic as hell, but owning who I am and to become and to, I think that's how you can share goodness and love with other people is the more of that you own and the more comfortable you are.
Yeah.
And,
was there any kind of like defining moment where you felt like, okay, because it's interesting you say that too, because that takes, think about when Melat was here. She's Ethiopian and she grew up in Cedar Park. So she's like, I have these two juxtapositions of my environment during the week. And then I go home and I'm with my family and church and all these different things. So she said something, that's what you just reminded me of that. Cause that's what she said. She's like, I had to figure out really quick and how to like own it and know who I was. And that comes out in her singing. Has that influenced you as well?
Definitely. I mean, the musically, it's influenced me a ton because, so I'll be honest, I don't listen to a ton of like Latin music, not as much as I do English music. I would say it's like 20/80. But one thing I do observe so much in Latin music is the vocal performance is extremely captivating. It's across the board, and learning from that and learning from these rhythms and stuff like that. That's stuff that just plays inside of me because it's what my mom played around the house. So even subconsciously, these little things stay with you. So yeah, I think there definitely was a big influence of that.
Wow. So you mentioned your mom, and then you said just the relationship that you guys had and that she was a performer. So yeah, what do you mean by that? Okay, so context, one day you guys will see this short film, but so my parents are both in the medical community. My mom stopped practicing when we were little, but nonetheless, my immigrant friends will know this, like I've said, you either want to be a lawyer, a doctor, or an engineer, and that's kind of what's laid out for you as, just what kind of jobs are most acclaimed, right? And my parents both went into the medical field, but I feel, and I know this about my mom, is that she loves to sing and dance, and she's the most colorful person I've ever met, and everything about her reads more as as a performer. I think that's what's in her soul. It's what she was meant to be, and that's just not the way life always works out. She followed her career path, which is extremely noble. And, this short film kind of touches on, on that concept that you'll see. This was the first time this woman was in front of a camera. Really? How hard, you've been in film before, just like even the first time the camera's on you get a little bit more shy, a little bit more reserved. And there's just such a high chance of that. But with her, it was like nothing was even there. I thought that was insane. And I made that bet. I remember talking to Steve, my DP, before we did it. And he was like, what do you think about this? I was like, I just have this idea that it's not going to phase her at all and that she's going to shine. And she does. And it's just anything that has to do with performance or having a creative output, she thrives. And I think that's exactly where I get it from. Wow. And so I just have to honor, I'm a reflection of that woman's light, and I need to honor every bit of that. And she gave me the platform to do so. Wow. So that's kind of why. Yeah. And you'll see that in the short film. She's everything I just said will make more sense. Yeah, we're dangling a little carrot. I know. I'm sorry, but just holding on to it until we can do all the steps right, as you can imagine, based on all the neurotic stuff. Yeah, so we were talking about all the different steps, and with you being a relatively new band, but still very experienced. You have this experienced team around you and doing that. And you were talking earlier about festivals and this and that. Take us through that. How did you all just have to kind of shotgun and learn that process on your own, or have you been just preparing for those things? Which part? So you were talking earlier right before. I was like, wait, pause that. We want to talk about that. Just the different pieces that go with, like you said. With what the endeavor I'm trying to take on right now. Yeah. So it's directing this short film. Now we have this completed product, and because I know a lot of artists, a lot of artists can probably relate to this, or you said, they're looking to you and they see someone that's doing this. So trying, at least. I don't know what I'm doing most of the time, guys. I'm just trying. That's the thing you learn. Trying your best, to me, is different than when most people tell me they're going to try their best. Because when I say I try my best, it means I will work 18 to 20 hours a day until the job is done, or if it kills me, right? And I've been lucky enough to be surrounded with a few of these people that I work with consistently that share that concept. Yeah. But back to what you asked. So
now that I have a short film, it also ties back to the earlier point of making one thing, 5 things, right? So I have a short film. How could I use this to do more than what it is? Sure, it's going to get premiered on YouTube. Sure, it's going to be, we can get a publicist and get the word out and get some write-ups. Okay, there's a few more windows to the house now. What else can I do? Well, maybe I can turn to certain brands that I think would affiliate it with it in a really strong way. Latin brands, because we speak Spanish in it, or, different, any brands that I think would be great to tie onto this. And then I could use that money to either make another video or to, fund record 2. Okay, what else can I do? I want to try to get these certain producers or this certain people to be attached to a different project that I'm going to do. I can use it to send it to them and, make contact with those people and make contact with their managers. And now you've created more windows and more eyes on you. Okay, now what else can I do? And you see, the concept is just, how can I turn this one thing into 20? And how can I turn this into as many decisions as possible? Because that's what thoughtfulness and preparation is. The more decisions I create for myself, the more likely this will be successful. Sure, that's easy for a neurotic person to do, but it's also good advice across the board.
Well, and there's so much to keep up with these days. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of the thing that I always talk to Steve about is something, like you said, you have a piece of content and you have all these different things, and working in social media, because I know we've talked about that as well, because you have social media background as well and working with production, but it's there's so many different places, there's so many windows now that you can have in a house. You can have YouTube, you can have a TikTok window, you can have a Twitter window, you can have all these different things, and it's just getting more, it's like you said, it's finding the right thing that's going to fit. I think that's, for me, when I do just want to sit here and talk to artists, talk to creatives, talk to people in the industry and have music conversations. But like you said, it's there's people that care and they have to know about it and they have to see it. So I definitely understand that whole side of it.
I think the other point you were talking about earlier too is so one bullet I didn't name, or window I didn't name, was now taking this to, short film festivals itself. And how can you try to, talk to, how can I talk to Hulu or Netflix or HBO? And how do I even do that? Guys, I don't know. I just figured out. We just try, right? And then how can you turn this into even more? And that's when we were talking about sponsorships and short films earlier, or
I would even think, and I know this is kind of like you said, going in that route. There's so many, even beyond sponsorships, like you said, that's a whole different conversation, of different route to take your music and where you want to go. And ultimately it's what's your intention behind that? And it's to get people to see it, to know you, to hear your music, and to just continue to spread that message.
Yeah. And the message of the short film, it's called Don't Let This Love Go to Waste. It's entirely about love and playfulness and persevering through COVID. And so I don't feel like I'm degrading this piece of art by trying to find things to attach to it and maximize it, because the message is pure and good. And if anything, these things just help me get that message out, help me make more music. And it's just turning this thing into, it is business to some degree,
Well, and that's what people don't necessarily see. Everyone, I mean, I know I get that just on my Instagram, where people see, for instance, the whole thing, that whole story we just talked about for that wedding shoot, I ended up using, when it came down to the final thing, I was I can only use 5 of these photos.
Right.
Because of the intimacy of it and what it was and what it was for and the whole context. I was okay, now I'm using 3 of these photos, but yet we spent a good, you gave me 4 hours of your time. I know Steve edited a video for ACO Live and did that. So it was all these people's time, but there was so much preparation. I was there on a Friday night, making my cowboy hat and ordering, having that vision, and then going to Lucy's in Disguise and figuring out with that outfit and renting, so there's so many other things that go into just that, for that one photo, for one photo
that people don't see, and you make
and
it
that
look,
video,
you make it look easy. And that's the thing, is people don't understand, for each one thing, hours and hours and hours of legwork go into it. And that's your brain, and that's your creative brain and your team. And Steve, making this all happen, you make it look easy. And then people are like, oh, this person just, sometimes some haters will tell me, this person just gets these things. When in reality, it's hundreds and hundreds of hours of me alone in my house.
Exactly. And you especially too, as there's, and I have to find her name, but it was someone that I saw tagged, and it was a woman that was talking about, she's an artist, and how a man had kind of devalued, like, oh, like you just got that gig because you're this, or all these different things. So there's a lot, you know, and then being a minority and having, you know, that as well, people always want to make assumptions. And it's funny, I was talking about this today with a friend at lunch, but I've always tried to stay very, especially with as turbulent as this summer was with Black Lives Matter and all of these different movements that were happening. I mean, it was very trepidatious to work on content or do anything during that time. I felt like, because everyone was, it was just a tense time. It was like a heist. COVID,
everyone was just ready.
Everybody was tense. Everybody was, you know, at the same time, just kind of like Snowpocalypse that we just had. It was another very tense time. And last week, I mean, like I told you, and I mean, I was straight up just depressed. And I knew I wasn't myself, and it wasn't something I'd experienced in a while, but it was something that I was very comfortable to share. I didn't go on like social media and blast it out, but I was just like, I'm not right now. Like something, it's almost like this out of body too. Like, you know, that's not you and that's not who you are. But at the end of the day, like there's those people that the more authentic you are, and you're really authentic too. I applaud you on that, on your social media and what you do. There's a performer, but then there's also you. And like, please always keep that as well, because that's what people connect to, as people relate to. But I think people kind of lose sight of that you're a person as well. Like you said, there's these things that you have to do to make it work, to continue to do your dream. And that's what I think, you know, as much as, you know, we're coming up, you're going to be episode number 18. So we've been doing this now for 18 weeks. So yeah, it's like 3.5 months, but you pour so much into it, and it's like, you want people to care just as much as you do. That's what I think it ultimately for me comes down to. That is like, I love this so much, and I want people to care just as much as I do. And I want people to be invested in the artist. And it's like, it's finally clicking where I'm getting the messages of people like Mobley last. Oh, haven't stopped listening to him since you posted about him. So it's those things I love. If I had one person that did that, that's, you know, if I have two people, one person's like, hey, I have not stopped listening to that Nańe album. Can't wait. I'm great follow, like, which is going to happen. And that's what I absolutely love. And that's why I do what I do, is to support creatives and people that are brilliant, that have these amazing creative endeavors, and to lift you up and push you to that next level of support.
Well, we're great. I mean, I'm trying to speak for more than myself right now, but we're grateful for that, and the platform that you help give musicians in the city. And I do think people are going to care as much as you do. I mean, the general public, because I hope so. Message is good. It's all well produced. This place is great. And your company it's also great.
Oh, thank you.
Was it well received too whenever were you vulnerable with your social media audience and stuff too?
Great question. Yes. And I have always been, because I am very proud of this, but my social media audience is all authentic, organic. I've never bought a follower, bought a like. Right. So, and I'm not involved in any pods or anything like that.
No, you can tell your traction's gigantic.
But you see like certain people, and I'm not knocking that. I think Instagram is its own thing, and there's ways to pivot, but ultimately that's why I love this, is because this is more long form. It's not just a snippet of my personality. It's like I get to actually sit and talk to you, and
just not a photo of
have a conversation. Right. So as you know, as many windows as you can have. I think I'm going to use that analogy because I think it's so great. But yeah, I've been very vulnerable in the sense that, but it's to catch 22 also, because it's like I have this brand where people don't even know my name when I go out. Yeah. Like they're like, ATX concert queen. Sorry, I don't know your name. What's your name? Clarissa, which is fine. And I'm fine with that as well. But you've
created that character. You crafted a character.
It's a character in the sense of like, it's that name. It's catchy, but it's like, okay, how do I continue to still inject myself where it's not, you know? So like I talked about this on here, like a bikini shoot. That was probably the most vulnerable, like you're saying, like with being in front of the camera that I'd ever been in my entire life, where yes, this final edit, this final photo was the final product that people are seeing. But I trained for that for 3 months. I almost had like 5 panic attacks before I did it, and all those different things to get to that one moment. And I shared that because I was like, I feel like it'd be disingenuous if I just did this and didn't share the journey. So like people love any kind of behind the scenes, all those. I try to share that. I haven't been just with everything going on. And it's like, sometimes you're just like, life's moving faster than you can even keep up with it.
Yeah.
And I can imagine you have the same, you have a crazy schedule.
Yeah,
like what's like a typical day in the life of?
It's normally about 18 or 19 hours of 3 different activities, which is like music production. So like last week, I did I helped produce, I was an associate producer on a video. And then I produced a record, 2 songs for a band on the record. And then I assisted with a commercial as well. So it's like random things. And then I did a branding client on Wednesday, which is more like I do branding for small businesses in Austin, which means design, logo, website, all this stuff. And I have a team that does that. And I help create the vision of that. So it's like any given day is between 15 to 18 hours of that. So this was actually my weekend. Today was.
Really?
I still worked, but
what
it was.
Today? Today's
Monday.
Monday.
Is today Monday?
Monday.
It's Monday.
I'm thinking Wednesday because that's when this is released.
But yeah, I know your schedule's whack too. I know that you stay up crazy late working on you do a lot, and that's what we've talked about.
He stays up. Steve stays up later than I do.
Yeah.
Remember that. Steve does not go to sleep. Yeah, but so today this is thank you for spending your weekend.
Oh yeah, today
and popping through. But yeah, I'm excited to share everything, your music. You've got so much coming up. So tell us what's coming up. I know you've got this short film, but that's going to be in a month or 2.
Yeah, once I have all the pieces right.
Yeah, what's up the most? Do you have any shows coming up?
So we do have a show on May 1st at Empire, which I think is where we're going to screen the short film for the first time.
Oh, amazing.
So we'll make it like a collaborative art and film and music thing. Obviously socially distant show, as they've been doing them so well.
They have.
But aside from that coming up, it's really just been writing record 2 and just creating as many opportunities with record 1 as we can. So it's stretching that out. We've been talking to different
amazing
agents and booking agents and stuff like that. And it's just getting all of these pieces in line, so
it's a lot that goes into it.
So many conversations.
So how can people support you?
How can people support us? I think it's just by telling your friends about Nańe. It's by watching our videos, sharing our stuff, telling your friends if you think they'll like the music, because ultimately it's just I want people that would enjoy it, and
you're on that California music blog that I sent you.
I know, that was crazy.
So he was on.
Tell me about that.
My friend Laura in Cali. I met her at a random concert friend, and someone introduced us, and she's like, "Hey, do you want to be part of my music club?" I was like, "I'd love to." So every week she sends out this thing, and you were one of her top 10 artists.
That was crazy. Yeah, you told
to
me.
Watch. And I was like, "Did you see this? This is really cool." And you're there, it's Sophie Tucker, Nańe, and then she's going on. You were
how did I get invited to this?
Right in the mix, Frank Ocean. Yeah, it's Frank Ocean and Nańe. So yeah, I hope
just the new guy holding a Topo Chico in the corner, just
but the sky's the limit, like you said. I know, just we're here to support each other, and you've been so kind to me and said the nicest things. But I see that for you. So this is, don't forget about me when.
Yeah. Don't
remember your first wife.
You don't forget about me.
The first wife.
How can you forget your first wife?
Can't forget your first wife.
But I'm so grateful to be here, and I've watched you. What's cool is, and it's something you actually reiterated to me when we hung out, is that vulnerability that you've displayed in the way you do social media and the way that you embody who you are. You were the first person to point out to me to be a bit more vulnerable with my audience, and I watched it be so successful with you. And I know that at times it can hurt because people online are mean as hell sometimes.
Yeah, they are. Be nice, people.
After some point in time, you can put a wall around that, but it's still annoying,
Yeah.
But just know that I admire the way that you operate and how hard you work, and I believe you. You're
gonna make me cry. I'm gonna cry twice. I cried watching the film. I was like, I can't cry. That's what I was fixing my makeup, and you're gonna make me cry now. But I really appreciate that. That was very kind.
That's ultimately what we want, right? When someone listens to our music or sees what we're doing,
yes.
Do I believe
you're
you?
I see you. I believe you. Yeah.
And I do.
I believe what you're doing as well. We're just gonna sit here and go back and forth. Y'all
take a break.
But yeah, you're just, again, I can't wait May 1st, but even who you are on stage, but then all that goes in behind it. I believe it. And I know other people will as well, because you've spent so much time in it, from singles to the trajectory that you're on, and Keep in mind as well, I mean, you had COVID, you had a pandy that happened during all this time.
We dropped a record during COVID and you know, we stretched that out to 5 or 6 singles because we needed to retain attention.
I saw that. So I was wondering, it was like single, boom, album.
We had 7 singles. Yeah. And then we dropped the record. And, you know, part of that was what I learned from watching other managers speak, right? So the Chainsmokers manager was talking about the Drake example and his own that he's seen with the Chainsmokers, and it's dropping a single every 6 weeks. So sharing this with you, any listener who may care.
Interesting.
It's every 6 weeks to 8 weeks, dropping a song, video, different day, or the same day, and just stringing out more retention over time. And that's a big model of the success that I've seen, even that I've been able to attain. And I say that humbly. It's through keeping retention for longer, creating as many windows for each 6 or 8 week period, and making it really count, making it believable, making it novel and authentic to you, and doing so with love and goodness, and work your ass off, and it's done. It's done. Now you just watch it, run maintenance, and keep creating ideas, and it's on.
Well, on that, I mean, boom, that's the mic drop right there.
Yeah, just knock it down.
Yeah.
I'm out of here.
Sorry, Steve. We're done. But other than that, how can people find you on social and all that good stuff?
We are Nańe the band because this Portuguese woman has the name Nańe. So there's also, we're in a turf war with this Romanian rapper who is so much more famous than we are.
A turf war?
Yeah. No,
really?
His name is Nańe. But we are Nańe with an accent. That's Nane with an accent. And our handles on every social media are Nańe the band. So Nane the band, because social media doesn't acknowledge accents. So that's fine. Mm-hmm. You know, if they didn't make one for Rosalia, they're not going to make one for me yet. But we'll give it some time and we will all catch up. But Nańe the band on all socials. Come check out some of our videos on YouTube, youtube.com/Nańe the band as well. I've been blessed enough. I can't stress this enough. It's find a good team, find people who believe in you. And these people have, you know, and do everything you can to help them too. And these people have helped me create such incredible videos that have gotten me here. So check some of those out. They're fun. They're good.
Yeah. Well, and I'll link some.
Yeah,
some of your favorite ones. So, well, thank you so much for being here.
It's been my pleasure.
So we'll have to have you again. And like I said, could have talked to you for way longer, but I really appreciate you being here. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Bye, y'all.
Bye, guys.